We back with the Floating Head Chronicles, and today was day 6 of the Megan Boswell trial for unaliving her 13-month-old baby, Evelyn. Look how freaking adorable she is. Rest in peace, baby girl. We are trying to get justice for you. And today, we had some bangers that were dropped. Now, I like to watch the trial with Grizzly True Crime on YouTube. She's fantastic. She censors all the major stuff that we don't want to see. She starts the trial a little later so that way she could fast forward through all commercials and breaks. So if you do want to watch the trial and have somebody that's going to, diagram and graph things along the way for you, you definitely want to go check out Grizzly True Crime. You'll find me up in that chat. And I shout outs to those of you that I have seen in there. Freaking awesome that you're watching this alongside me so we can have this discussion. I do want to have an open panel. I'm thinking tomorrow YouTube. So I'm working on, getting a post made for that. So if you guys want to join, definitely let's get a discussion going because there's a lot to unpack. And we still have like 3 weeks of trial left. But today we had Paul Durant, FBI special agent. He actually did a lot of the extractions from her phone and gave us some intel, some information. He got some Facebook posts after Evelyn was missing, and it showed that she was already telling people that, hey, her father has custody of her and we're in this custody battle and we're trying to work it out with the court. She's told people that, was the boyfriend, it was the baby's dad. Then she said, I'm not going to lie to the cops and the FBI. It was my mother. My mother's gone and she's missing and she has the baby. And this is that I was too scared to come forward. And she said multiple stories at this point. But he broke it down because they see the messages between her and Ethan. And at the time, she's telling, remember, Ethan's supposedly the baby's dad. That wasn't the baby's dad. And he's asking, oh, nope, I can't bring the baby because she's sick. So she was coming up with excuses of why he couldn't see her. Then she's telling Hunter that she doesn't have the baby. And then they see these messages between her and Hunter. And Hunter's like, wait, why'd you change your name? She changed her last name to match his, Wood. And he's like, no, change that back. Like, don't change what are you doing? And she's like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. Then she's trying to get his attention. He's not responding to her. So she's like, oh, I'm going to come to your car and sleep in your truck. I have nowhere to go. And I'm pregnant with your baby, which she was not. She lied. And she's like, but if I can't get a ride, then I'm just going to show up there anyways. Like, no matter what, she's coming. And he wasn't responding. It just was like awkward, but she was like stalker vibe-ish of like, girl, focus on your baby. If you focus that much on your baby, we wouldn't be in this predicament that we are right now. But it was bizarre to say the least. Even when she's asking, I need to get a ride to go over here so I can look for Evelyn. And he's like, why don't you ask your dad? He seemed like he didn't want any part to do with this. And he's like, hey, just tell me that the baby's okay and she's going to be like found and she's fine. Like, I think this really messed with him. I think after he's found out that this baby was no longer living and it was at most likely at the hands of this woman, he was petrified. Wow, she's crazier than I thought she was. But this guy was beautiful to bring out all this documentation and bring out the facts. Even though they kind of went hard at him because he's still kind of green around the thumbs. But I mean, he's FBI. They don't choose anybody who isn't top notch. We had the Prince specialist come. This guy dropped bombs. He came in there and showed us that there was fingerprints on the trash can especially on the lid that belonged to Megan. There was fingerprints on tinfoil, which we all know was wrapped around that baby's head. And there was fingerprints on the black trash bag that the baby was stuffed into that all belonged to Megan and nobody else but Megan. There was nothing else that they could pull. There was also a piece of gum in there, and that DNA came back to be 100% Megan as well. So it was a little tough time to find out anybody else doing anything when it's all pointing back to only one person. Ma'am, we know that you are the person behind this. Poor baby Evelyn, we want justice for you. But he was good, came up, dropped those bombshells. We needed to hear that information because everybody was trying to say, how she passed away. Now it's like, you put her in the trash according to your fingerprints. Now, this was the only angles that we could see of Megan today, but this was her face. when he's going over the prints, and she's realizing, I'm kind of fucked here, buddy. They got me. This one was big, but there was no tears. You didn't hear crying. This is her covering her face all the time, and she refused to look at the photos, which I feel like you did this. You should have to look at what you did to that child and have to live with it the rest of your life, because the jury has to look at it and everybody else in that courtroom, and now you're ashamed? You did this. Fucking take some accountability. Then we had Dr. Matrina, who was the medical examiner and was the one that found the baby had unalived by 4 different types of asphyxiation. Not only was there tinfoil wrapped around her face, she was swaddled so tight they had to, spend some time unraveling her, placed in the plastic trash bag, and shoved into the trash. Now, they stated that all 4 of those types is what caused her to no longer live. And so she's stating she believes to be that baby was placed in that trash bag, still alive, but the defense came up and she said she couldn't definitively state that that's what happened. That was just her theory based on all the facts and findings. Now, this woman came out, Dr. Darinka, and she has been in a couple other ones as, a top pathologist and medical examiner. She's the chief medical examiner. She overlooked the previous report, and she goes over everything with all the facts and findings and sees that she could come to the same conclusion, in which she did. She stated the same thing. Now, the defense had a problem with that because they're saying, hey, how do you know that she wasn't already not breathing before she was placed in that trash can? And she came back and said, well, why? Why, if she was no longer breathing, would you take the time to wrap her face in tinfoil, swaddle her body up, and then stuff her in a trash can? You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't need to go through those extra efforts. Therefore, all the conclusions and things that she's seeing is based on the fact that, hey, she was put in there, and all those factors is what's caused her not to be alive. Now, not only was this poor baby wrapped up in tinfoil and swaddled so tight, she said it was crazy. And we had to hear the testimony about it was brutal. And I can only imagine what that jury saw, and my heart broke for them because I can only imagine having to go home and sleep to that. And then, I don't think I would have to, but she even described the baby was crammed in the trash in a backwards S position. So almost like feet and head touching, like scorpion style up in there, and upside down. So, but she's constricted. That's causing you can't breathe. You got some covering your face. You got some swaddling you in that position, and then you're in this bag in the bottom of a trash can. Yet all these things are going to cause you to not breathe. But here we are. The defense wanted to argue about it. He almost got her held in contempt because he was really trying to push on that factor. Now, he wanted her to ask specifically yes or no, that if she could conclusively state that that baby was no longer living prior to being placed in the trash can. And she was having a tough time answering that because she said, hey, based on my findings, and she wanted to go into a detail, but she couldn't answer yes or no. The judge was like, I will hold you in contempt if you don't answer yes or no. You can explain yourself, but you need to say yes or no. And finally, she says, no. I can't prove. She could have been murdered some other way. But either way, this woman says homicide. So it was really crazy in court today. I wanted to kind of sum it all down for you, but we got fingerprints now that tie this girl, besides her multiple lies that she has stated. And it's getting a little crazy for you, Megan. It's not looking in your best interest. So yikes. But I do want to have an open discussion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And maybe if we can get enough people, we could do an open panel for tomorrow. You guys keep me posted. I hope you guys have a beautiful night. And rest in peace, baby Evelyn.